Raleigh was looking to impress Queen Elizabeth and to gain what? Power, right? Land is power in this time period. So we've got people who want to come to escape England. We've got people who want to come to build a military fort. We have people who want to come to expand their power base and to gain favor with the Queen. Those are the basic, big ideas of the motives of why people wanted to settle here. Now, you wrote a letter 2 days ago to John White, asking him to please approve you participating in one of his voyages, yes? Yes. We talked about how you had to kind of sell yourself, right? You had to say, this is what I am going to bring to the colony, and this is how I'm going to help. Okay, they're not just going to bring anybody who wants to go. You have to be able to contribute to the success of the colony. You're going to actually play the part kind of in your head of Sir Walter Raleigh. And you're going to get a list of potential candidates. Your objective is what? If you are Sir Walter Raleigh, what is your objective, Jenna? You want the new colony to succeed, so you have to be really, really, really selective about who you're going to bring with you, depending on your team. What do you think might work? Katie?
Make individual lists and then see which ones are the same.
So your team is going to have to decide before you even start what the process is going to be. How are we going to do this? And you have got to come to agreement. You cannot say to me, we can't decide. That is not an option. Would Raleigh have been able to say that?
No.
No. He would have had to make a decision. Okay? Now, if you feel super, super strongly about something, when I say fight for it, I don't mean fight. I mean advocate for it. Come up with your reasons of why this person really, really, really should be there. And as a group, you might have to compromise. Maybe Helen really, really wants a 60-year-old person, whoever that might be, to come with her, to come on the voyage. And she says, well, here are my reasons. And you guys have all gotten some input, and you've been able to choose somebody, and you might have to compromise. What I don't want to see is we're each going to pick two. That's not compromising, is it?
No.
That's not discussing. That is, we'll each pick two and then,
Because one, you could pick
the same.
Yeah.
And don't you think Raleigh and White had to compromise?
Yeah.
Because Raleigh was financing it, but it was White's
Decision to go.
voyage. He was the one who was going to have to live with these people. Are there any questions before we start? No?
Someone who knows survival
Remember, on this sheet, you're going to have to say this is why this person is critical to the survival of the colony. Okay? That's going to be a hard decision, isn't it? You could be cold-hearted and say, we're splitting this family up. But you would run the risk then of him saying, I'm not going without my family. Right? So that's something you have to consider too.
Already taken up 7
Okay, we can take 10 people.
Perhaps I did not make myself clear. You must bring 10 people. You cannot bring fewer than 10. Oh, that would be too simple. Because then you could just knock out the Meeks family and be done. No, you have to bring 10. Then you're running the risk of that Danny saying, he's the only doctor on that list, right? Of him saying, I'm not leaving without my wife. You run that risk. So just, that's something to point out, right? It's something to consider.
Well, let's look at the then if we cheat on Tom and very sick of it,
I'm gonna bring Eleanor and
Okay, but let me ask you, I'm just gonna throw something out there at you. Play devil's advocate here. He's 56 and he's a good sailor. So once you get there, what does he provide for you? Fair enough, I'm just saying, you need to think about it. Yep.
Okay, I'm done.
56 though, okay, then let me throw something else out there. And I'm not trying to make this even harder, but yeah.
I'm done. Is everyone ready?
56 back then was pretty old.
Is everyone ready?
Well, then that's 85. So that's not, 56 then is not what 56 is now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I think Elizabeth and
So just, these are all things I want, I'm just trying to throw those out there so that you learn to think critically and try to put yourself in Robert's shoes.
Small English settlement and
Yeah, so what do you think Raleigh's going to say?
I chose Bradley, Lindsay, and Thomas.
yeah. Wait, but then
Okay, this is your warning bell. I want you to finish. You have, let's say, 6 minutes.
so we're definitely bringing more back.
6 minutes to come up with your final list. So you're thinking of bringing Lindsay, Bradley, and the dad. Well, wait a minute. This guy's hard to handle, right? This one has whooping cough. Why wouldn't you want to bring somebody with whooping cough? Really contagious. And did they have vaccines like we have? We have drugs and stuff to handle. They didn't have that, so it could spread through the whole ship. Yeah, how do they handle it? Yeah, they didn't really have drugs or vaccines or all those things that would have helped it from spreading. When you're on a ship, what is it like? Yeah, very close quarters. Yeah. Easy to spread the germs. Easy, easy. All right. Suffice it to say, this is not an easy task. And you're only looking at a list of 16. Think of how many people went with John White, do you remember?
Like 212.
It was like 180. So they had a much longer list and had to whittle it down, right? So now that you've had some time to talk about it, I'm not concerned that you get your list finished. We'll pick that up next time. But what I do want to do is revisit our second question is, what criteria did they have to determine who would go? Learning Team 1, what was your most important criteria that you used to decide?
Married ones with no children, married ones about to have children, or single ones. Quite a few of the meeks.
Okay, and what was your reasoning for that? What was your reason for making your most important criteria the lack of attachments?
Because we don't want to have a bunch of kids on the voyage. They'll drive us crazy.
Okay, fair enough. And you guys focused on skills. Who has the skills? Kind of a harder line, and that's fine because that has to be done. All right, how about you guys? What was yours?
We was a doctor.
Doctor.
And
They were all about the medicine. We got to have that doctor. We might have to give up a lot of spots, but we need a doctor.
And we wanted people that were single. There were 2 doctors though, so they picked the younger one. We have both.
Okay, how about learning team 4?
People that can like skills and that will help the colony survive.
So you focused on skills. That was your primary objective.
Too, because we did the Davises and they were expecting a child, and maybe the child that they have we only took 2 of the Meeks, So maybe one of the, or well, three of the Meeks, 2 children, and one the dad, and maybe the child that they have maybe could marry Bradley or Lindsay.
Maybe these people will help populate the colony.
Yeah.
Okay, learning team 5.
Skill.
Skill. You honed in on those skills.
And sort of age, sort of.
Okay, how about you guys? What was your most important criteria?
Probably like the family thing together.
Okay, so they kind of went more for a social emotional thing, right? They're focusing on keeping the families together. Now, go back to our study of adaptations real quick in your head. What do you need to survive in this circumstance?
Food, shelter, water.
And those all require
Different
skills.
people.
However, we also know that people have to have attachments in order to thrive, right? I was teaching social studies. I was focusing on the history strand, primarily analyzing key events in history and how they impacted North Carolina and the history of the development of our colony, our state. And also some English language arts, because we were looking at how to look at things through somebody else's perspective and how that might change the way that you view a situation or an event.
And why did you teach the lesson the way you did?
I taught the lesson the way I did because this particular group of students generally does a really good job with group work. I find that they are way more invested and interested if they're actively participating rather than sitting and listening. So I try really hard to mix it up with, okay, now I'm talking and I'm going to give them some time to work together. And it is hard for kids. This is a highly gifted class. So it's really hard for this type of child to compromise. So I spend a lot of time doing things with them on learning to compromise and learning to let go of some things so that they can get along better.
And what do you think worked about the lesson?
I think they're really interested in this topic. So I think that I had that in my favor. The book we're reading, which is called Roanoke, has them really, really interested. I think what worked is that I front-loaded them a lot. They had already written letters to John White. So we had several discussions about, why people would have wanted to go. We've done some research. So I think front-loading them really helped because they felt a little bit more prepared about how to make those decisions and what they might have needed in that colony.
Great. And do you have any advice for future teachers?
Advice for future teachers. I guess the biggest piece of advice I would give to any future teacher is listen to your kids. They'll tell you what they need. And sometimes it's okay to be flexible and to let what you've written down in your plans go. Because if they are interested and engaged, you need to go with it while you have them, because you're not necessarily going to have them all the time that engaged.